What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday playoff edition of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. You must be 19 plus, so please play responsibly. And we are also presented by Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care. Made in Italy since 1948, Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps. Hockey 15. That's Colby, Cohen. I'm Jonny, Lazarus, and we've got quite the show lined up today. We got John Buccigross, friend of the show, joining here any minute. Then we got Ryan Cruthers, the head coach of the Sioux Falls Stampede in the USHL, as well as Colten St, the head coach of the Muskegon Lumberjacks, who are facing off in the Clark Cup Final on Friday night. And then Steve Levy to finish it all off. We're also working on getting Tyler Yaremchuk to pop in, so we're going to have a lot of different faces coming on the show today. Yeah. A long show.
2 hours
so
probably.
Strap in, dial in, get in the chat. We got a lot of things to get to. Obviously, congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche on winning the series last night in 5 games. We'll talk a little bit about that as the show continues, but there is breaking news that we have to get to right now with Chris Knoblauch being fired. So, Colby, I don't know if you want to say anything or just bring Bucci in.
We're just going to follow Jared Bednar's lead. You heard what he said last night in his post-game press conference. Like, it's Stanley Cup or bust. So this is I think we all got a little high on the Minnesota Wild Kool-Aid when they beat Dallas, and then Colorado said, "Oh yeah, like hold my beer," and look, Minnesota's banged up and there's a million different reasons, but the Avs just look different. So we will definitely talk about that, but we got to start with Edmonton. We have to start with what's transpired over the last couple of days because, it's funny. Like I think I have a different, the way this has all gone down hasn't bothered me like it's bothered a lot of people. So let's bring Butchie on and let's talk to him about it. I mean, he's been around these situations forever and always pretty close to it. So, Butchie, how are you this morning, first and foremost?
Doing good. It's been a grind, 2.5 month grind, started in March, but I think now it's going to subside a bit as we head to conference finals.
Yeah. Well, they had you on that day of flight into the West to call that big game the other night, which was awesome. Another overtime game and great to see all that. But let's just start with Chris Knoblauch here, Butchie, because, over the last couple of days, they've really kind of taken aim and said the Oilers, like they were, Stan Bowman this, the Oilers are classless. They shouldn't be talking and sniffing around about another coach while they had Knoblauch. And, now people are starting to feel like maybe they weren't going to fire him. And then this all happened. And then they felt like they had to fire him. And, I'm just curious because you're not someone who just like flows downstream. You always have your own opinion. And so I'm curious, like, what do you make of this entire situation over the last, 72 hours?
Well, it's a bit of a dysfunctional front office, starting with the owner. Let's face it. They've been in desperation mode for a long time. They hired Kenny Holland to try to, clean it up and build some sort of stable organization to help Connor get his cup. Everybody wants to get an icon his cup, especially when he's all in like he was. So it became cup or bust pretty soon. I know after Holland was let go and not renewed, he certainly has the respect of Connor McDavid. McDavid would follow him anywhere, I believe, to an organization that he feels that is well-structured and stable and has all the chances to win a Stanley Cup. It's difficult. There's 32 teams. Very few players win multiple Stanley Cups. It's hard to win just one. So this is an organization that kind of operates this way. They're all over the place. And now with being really on the clock with Connor McDavid having a couple years on his contract and really one, this would be his last year, I think, because then next summer he says, dude, I'm not going to resign. I'll give you a solid. You can trade me and get something for me, but I'm going to pick where I'm going to be and it's time to move on. So I think we're kind of on the clock there with that. So really anything goes at this point. And if they feel that, even though they gave Chris Knoblauch a 3-year extension starting next year, $2.5 million a year, they feel like, well, if Bruce Cassidy is available and he is a short-term coach, which everybody believes now, before he wears off, and we're a short-term operation here, probably 2 years max, maybe 1, this is probably the buzzer-beater coaching hire that we need to make. So I think that's how they're looking at this. They're in complete desperation mode. all hands on deck. They have to write a check for Chris Knoblauch. It's not a huge deal. It's, single digit, $7.5 million, not quite the double digit deal. Still a check, still a lot of money, but that's how I see it.
While you say, well, Bucci, I like that you say it's a buzzer beater kind of move here. But I do think, and Colby, I don't know if you feel the same way. I think you do, because you're not bothered by the way this has been handled. I guess, like you said, most people are. But I think this has become the most attractive job to anyone looking to coach an NHL team right now, because you know that this is the best player in the game, like you said, Bucci, going for the Stanley Cup in this coming year. Like, this is probably put out on a platter, for a guy who has Stanley Cup aspirations to go out and get this job right now. And there is only 1 year to commit, maybe probably 2. You're probably committing to 2 years. Do you feel that way? Or do you think this is now, people are going to say the Leafs is the most attractive job? I disagree. This is clear cut, most attractive job a coach could want.
It is, for sure. You want to be involved with someone like Connor McDavid. You want to be a part of that. You want to make that bet that if we win with him in Canada, this is a gigantic deal for me and my legacy. And obviously now going forward, they're guaranteed another probably 10 years of NHL salary. People take these jobs no matter where they are because they pay well, because they can't get a job that pays this well anywhere else. That's why they take them. They don't care who it's with, really. They just need the job. Now, sometimes when you're Bruce Cassidy, you've had multiple jobs. You now have enough in the bank where you can kind of be a little selective and kind of pick your spot. And so, you're able to do that because you have cachet, you have a cup, you have enough money in the bank where you don't have to take a job right away. But that's why people eventually take these jobs. I mean, people can come back. Organizations can come back, some quickly, some slowly. So these jobs will always be attractive because they pay well. And again, these men cannot get jobs anywhere else that pay as well as these jobs. And so, yeah, I still believe it's an attractive job because of McDavid and Draisaitl and some of the others. Now, obviously, the negatives is the ownership, is the roster, is Anaheim, San Jose, Chicago ascending, Colorado probably good for another year or two. So, and if that's your window as well, there's a lot happening in the West right now that doesn't line up as Edmonton as the hot stock. It's a little risky, but again, you have the guys that at least give you a possibility.
Do you have a problem with the way this is gone down? Because I went on Oilers Nation yesterday and I actually defended the Oilers and said, look, I think it would have been irresponsible to not at least have a meeting with Bruce Cassidy based on his pedigree. It doesn't mean you're 100% committed to letting Chris Knoblauch go. It doesn't mean, we saw this happen in St. Louis. They had a coach, Drew Bannister. There was a better one they felt was available. They went out and talked to him and they made a deal with him. And I think what happened here, in my opinion, is that, I think that management was okay with bringing Knoblauch back. I believe that it was their intention to bring Knoblauch back and to maybe surround him with some higher level assistant coaches, and to maybe take more of a part in building the staff. That way there was more cohesion and in ideas of how this team's going to play. Remember, Stan Bowman did not hire Knoblauch. He was not his hire. So I personally don't have an issue in a cutthroat business. And you say, you know what? We're going to at least explore to see if Bruce Cassidy wanted to come here, if he's interested in coming to Edmonton. He's got 2 kids in high school that have gone through the American schooling system since his days in the American League in Providence, and they're 9th and 11th grade. And I do believe he's a family man and he can make his $5 million anywhere he wants to go. So I don't have this big issue with having a meeting or having a call with Bruce Cassidy to see if he's interested in, while saying, you know what? I'm not sure that we're going to move on from Chris because he's a good coach. Are you as bothered by the way this went down as it seems like the outside world is? Because I'm not. I'm not surprised or bothered by it at all.
No, you're always looking to upgrade. These are people under contract with multi-million-dollar contracts that are guaranteed, so he'll be fine. And again, for this organization, it's kind of par for the course. I mean, it's been a gong show. Paul Coffey in, Paul Coffey out. Somehow Broberg and Holloway get away for virtually nothing. How does that happen? That's post Ken Holland. They weren't prepared for offer sheets like the Bruins were prepared for Jeremy Swayman. They would have matched anybody. They were ready for it. And then the Kulak trade with Jari Kulak scores the overtime winner last night. Just pour a bucket of salt on the wounds. Like, that's a good, solid player. He was good. Like, why did you trade him? A cheap, reliable player. That's what they're looking for. And so he does
him
that.
A second and Skinner.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't surprise me from that regard. But yeah, even your original point, Colby, in any situation, you're always looking to upgrade. A guy like that becomes available, and that's it's what happens. It happens in obviously every walk of life. How many relationships have been broken up because someone found someone more attractive to them?
It's not you, it's
every
me.
day. Yeah, it's everyone's, unfortunately, some people are always looking to upgrade. Now, in the hockey business, obviously, there's no real loyalty because in the end, it's about the W and the cup, and there's just not going to be that kind of loyalty. So, yeah, could they have rode both sides of the fence, inquired behind the back, of Knoblauch? But in the end, it is, like you said, it's just business. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not surprised because of the history of the franchise and with the circumstances anyway, but add the circumstances of McDavid and you're kind of up against it there as well with him trying to extend him because he's great for business. He's been a cash register for the owners with all these playoff games. This huge money on the line for the owner, not just winning and not just Connor's legacy. His playoff gates are 10, 15, $20 million a game in Edmonton with that giant rink and their expensive tickets. And that goes away once Connor goes away. So that is huge amount of money there that they count on that maybe he uses for other businesses of his. So this is gigantic. And so it's like, sorry, it's all hands on deck, like I said, in Edmonton to try to win with Connor and then keep him longer term.
Well, Bucci, I also want to read this comment from the chat. This is from Mechanicsville 804 to what we were saying a little bit earlier, saying that I'm wrong about this being the most attractive job. And they said, I think this is a no-win job. Connor won't listen to the coach. You have a bad roster, and the team has shown over the last 5 coaches that they don't want to play defense. I don't know if I agree with the defense part of it, just because even Connor, after that second time they lost to the Panthers in the Cup Final, you could sense the frustration in his post-game press conference saying that we didn't have answers. They were all over us. They smothered us. We couldn't get out of our own zone. We couldn't generate offense. Like, I think offense was the problem against the Panthers, not defense. But again, like, that is where they ran into issues with Chris Knoblauch. They didn't have answers. Same thing with this first round series against the Ducks, and they need someone who has the answers. I'm curious just what you make of that comment and that judgment.
I mean, man, they got close. They got to a Game 7. Nobody played more playoff games in the last 3 years than the Oilers. They played the most playoff games the last 3 years, and Chris Knoblauch was the coach. So he did something right. Something was pretty good. Obviously, in the end, they didn't quite have the final push to make a difference. Again, they got to a Game 7, almost won again. So they were close. And a lot of that too, some of it was roster construction. He does not construct the roster. He coaches it. So in the end, no matter what coach is there, unless they think Bruce Cassidy can make up for their own organizational transactional errors, that's fine. Maybe he can. But for Chris Knoblauch, who was, like I said, no one coached more playoff games than him the last 3 years. So he was there, they were there. And in the end, obviously this year, like the Panthers, again, they ran out of gas. It's 3 straight finals, 2 straight finals, and then even the deep run prior to that. So they needed a break for sure. Now, can they make the right moves to get close enough? Again, like I said, while Anaheim ascends, while San Jose ascends, while Chicago ascends, while Vegas will always be there, while Colorado's still there, while Minnesota is frothing at the mouth to try to get better, man, it's going to be tough in the West for them. Everything's going to have to go right. So in terms of it's an attractive job because of the winning bet. If you're aligned with Connor and a cup, that's a winning bet. That's a gamble you might make. They're all good jobs because they pay well. And they might even pay better than normal. So it could be an attractive job because they're desperate. So, you might get $500,000 more out of them than somebody else. And so, again, they all fly first class. They all stay in 5-star hotels. Their arena is beautiful. They get in, they get out of the arena, first class style. So these jobs are all good. And again, if it's a short-term thing, 2-3 years, that's fine. There'll be other jobs. Bruce Cassidy has runway. He'll probably have 3 more jobs before he's all done at his age. Probably 3 more teams would probably be his over-under. So, it's attractive from that standpoint, but I get the chat person's, idea, the most attractive job is probably more Anaheim, San Jose, because they're going up and there's runway. You'll probably get a 10-year run out of them as long as you keep getting better. Warsofsky's good for 10 years there if you add up where he's been and where he's going.
Yeah. And just to address Laugh NYR13 asking me about the Paul Coffey situation, the way I understand the Paul Coffey situation is Paul Coffey's ownership's guy. Paul Coffey probably is the reason Knoblauch is no longer the head coach. I don't think Coffey thought Knoblauch had any idea of really what he was doing. I don't think he felt like he had enough of a backbone to coach superstar players. Remember, Paul Coffey comes from an old school generation where, it was just a little bit harder and heavier on players. But the one other point, and I know you've seen this too, and you and I have spent so much time together over the years. I know I've told you funny Butch Cassidy stories, and he's had some. I mean, you could just go back to like the things that he said about Tuukka Rask. I mean, he wasn't afraid to put Tuukka Rask on blast. Like, Bruce is tough on goalies. Most coaches will deflect and lie and say we didn't do our job in front of the goaltender and we whatever. Like, you basically always make excuses for your goaltenders. What Pete DeBoer did last year was not the norm. But Bruce Cassidy has a history of like being okay publicly criticizing goaltenders. And I just think about the goaltending situation in Edmonton, and I think about Butch, and I'm like, that to me is a red flag on the whole situation. While I agree that he's the right guy, he's the best guy available, he's the guy that will come in and hold anybody accountable, whether you're McDavid or whether you're a first-year player in Isaac Howard. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, Butch went after Pasta when he needed to, McAvoy, Bergeron, which eventually got him into trouble, by the way. He had no problem going after Eichel or Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo is the alpha male that pushed back and said, Butch, not now, quiet, and like fought back to him. But I do just wonder about the goalie situation and the dynamic there, because he's tough on goaltenders, and you've done games in Edmonton. I know you've made that flight before. Like, goaltending is problematic more than with Skinner in Edmonton.
It is. It's something they have to address. I heard they were offered Bobrovsky and could maybe still get Bobrovsky if they wanted. I look at someone like Freddie Anderson, who's having a Conn Smythe postseason. He's a UFA. What if somehow you cleared cap to give him a 1-year, $9 million deal? Like, you make a big bet on someone like him after an amazing playoff run. Like, they got to figure something out there. Like, they really think they can win a cup with those two fellas. It seems hard. It seems hard to believe. But, Colorado might win one with their two goalies. That not many people would have said that 2 years ago. So it is possible. We've seen people in the past, non-Hall of Fame goalies, win cups. So all GMs feel they can do that. And maybe Edmonton can. But yeah, Paul Coffey is a paid assistant, personal service deal with the owner. He's his boy. And so, yeah, maybe he had that opinion of him, or maybe it's just like you said, maybe it's just a pure upgrade. And then how Butch handles the goalies, and maybe even Connor or Leon. Knoblauch did bench Bouchard. Leon himself said he has to play better defense next year. So you can, at least he laid that down as saying, okay, we're ready to play defense. He opened that door up. I think when Leon said that, guys, that's when the Cassidy light bulb, I think, really went off. When you heard Leon say that, and even, McDavid said this was obviously just, a lost year. That news conference, I think, is what caused all this to really get going.
So you don't think, because, we're texting a little bit before, that the Maple Leafs firing Berube yesterday has anything to do with this as well? You think that job being open, and now the Oilers probably feeling that Cassidy might want that job, so they fire Knoblauch today? Is there any correlation there?
It depends who they hire. If they go Dan Muse, like Pittsburgh did, that's a signal that we should probably trade Nylander and Matthews. And instead of getting one prospect at a time, Gavin McKenna, then obviously if we bring Nylander and Matthews back, we're not going to be in the top 5 again. This is it. But if you trade them, then maybe you'll get 5 of those guys, get 5 top 5 picks. However whether there's someone drafted last year, then a future, try to figure that out. Then maybe they get and then you would hire, obviously, like I said, maybe like a Dan Muse. But if you're going to hire Bruce Cassidy, that means you're keeping Nylander and Matthews. You're not going to, I don't think the Rangers, like Mike Sullivan and the Rangers aren't a match anymore, right? It doesn't make any sense if they're going to be rebuilding the next 3, 4, 5 years. And that's why he left Pittsburgh. So I think the Berube thing just kind of wait and sees, okay, what does Austin think? What are we going to do? And then they can pivot from there. But I am surprised you wouldn't give yourself a mulligan as a GM like Bowman did with Knoblauch. It's almost like a free year. It's a breakfast ball. If it doesn't go well, okay, here's my first hire. Then I get 2 starting now. It almost feels like now this is the last one. It gives you kind of lose that breakfast ball. You have to play the first tee shot. No breakfast ball. So I was a little surprised maybe that they didn't wait to see what they did first and then ride with Berube or not.
All right. Yeah, Colby, anything else before we let Bucci go here?
No. Are you doing your show today at noon? Are you back in the seat today on Frankly Hockey?
Yeah, flew in from Vegas yesterday, and so back, and we'll be back on that, and so a lot to talk about, obviously, and so we'll be doing that at noon on X and YouTube and Victory Plus.
You called a couple of those Dorofeyev goals, and I have to keep bringing up that, like, I just remember the conversation I had with Butch Cassidy about Dorofeyev, like when he was really early on, and him talking about how this is a guy that he has this innate ability and this skill that he felt like if he could just get him to commit in 1 or 2 other areas that he had star potential. Like, he told me that about Dorofeyev 4 years ago, something like that, when Dorofeyev was in the first line, power play, fourth line, healthy scratch, like in and out of the doghouse. But he said there's something about this kid. So I do give Butch a lot of credit for that. He was on that quite early. So
I do have one more thing quickly, if I can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
sure.
I'm asking this for Vic. Well, I'm actually thanking Bucci for Vic. Vic wants to thank you for rigging the draft lottery during that commercial break before the 12 ball came out.
You're welcome.
Love you, pal.
Thanks, Bucci. We appreciate you.
But Dorofeyev's interesting. Dorofeyev, 37 goals, 20 power play goals this year. RFA. How can Vegas keep him? He's a $9 million player now.
Can't.
Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to trade Mark Stone? Are they going to, is he going to retire? Are they going to LTIR him? Like, they have, obviously they'll try to trade Aiden Hill. That's $6 million. But they got to find a way to keep Dorofeyev because he's now an $8-9 million player. So, that back check play of Kreider, the steal, the wrist shot, and then obviously always being in position to score. When you play with Eichel, you play with Jack Eichel, you're going to score 37, 40 goals if you can shoot and get open. And he can shoot and get open. So it's a perfect guy for Jack, the left-handed shot being the right-handed center. And so they have to find a way to keep him because, again, he is now a $8-9 million player. He's an RFA, but still, once you're an RFA and good, you're now a UFA. It's different now. There's no more bridges for elite players. Right away, you are, Celebrini, Bedard, all these guys. Carlson and Gauthier are both RFAs from Anaheim. Boy, Pat Verbeek's going to be busy. So it's an interesting time now for Vegas. How do they fit in Dorofeyev?
Yeah. Be attractive because he'll clear the space needed for Edmonton to for Vegas to go big game hunting with some of these other Tkachuk rumors, Matthews rumors. Never count Vegas out on any of that type of stuff. So
even McDavid.
Right. Yeah, listen,
absolutely.
I don't think any of it would shock me to see any big name guy ever end up in Vegas. So
no.
We are going to say goodbye to our pal. We love you coming on, and we'll see you at noon today on YouTube, and then we'll wait to see you back on the big screen. All right.
Thanks, Bucci.
Thank you, boys.
You appreciate it. Awesome stuff as always with John Buccigross. Colby, quickly before we talk about Minnesota and Colorado, we do want to play a clip last night from Jared Bednar in his postgame press conference. Great postgame last night from Bednar. So, Vic, why don't we cue that up quickly before we get into it?
I don't know how to say this without. Okay, how would you rather have it? Like every year I've been here after my second year, it's like cup or bust, cup or bust. Well, we've won one cup. It's hard to win. Okay, that's number one. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I don't think our players would want it any other way. I don't think the players that join our team at the deadline, the guys that have been here for years, would want it any other way. Now you're leaving.
This is Colorado's Stanley Cup to lose. I am fully on board with that after last night, seeing the way that they clawed their way back. And that's the one thing I was saying in our group chat, Colby, that there was too much time left in that game when they were down 3-0. Like after who scored the first goal? Was it Parker Kelly on the tip or Jack Drury on the deflection? One of those two on the shot from Burns. After Colorado scored that goal, it was all Avs for the rest of that game.
It was just from there.
Yeah. It was like they had nothing going. Minnesota couldn't have came out any better in the first period. And I was sitting there laughing. I was like, oh my God. I was talking so much shit to Avs fans. We're going to 6 games and they're going to win game 6. We're going to 7. And then Colorado did what Colorado does best. They just turned on the Jets. Nathan McKinnon was unbelievable in that game. You had a problem with the tying goal. Like, I think there's two things that could be true there. Walston's got to save it, but that is a perfect shot by him.
That should be an easy save. That should have been an easy save. The middle of the ice was taken away. Listen, Johnny, this is the National Hockey League. This is the best in the world. It's okay to hold these guys to an impossible standard. It's okay to do that. I mean, that's the standard you're held to at that level. Listen, John Hines, who, again, I'm a fan of John Hines. I know, I root for John Hines. I'm worried about his job now, right? If that save happens, we're not talking about John Hines today. It is a dog-eat-dog world in the National Hockey League. And so while Wallstedt had a good showing his first go-around of the playoffs, and he looks like a legitimate number one starter, listen, if you don't – he goes down so early there. Why is he down right there? It's that reverse VH thing that we're constantly talking about. And I'm sorry, sure, it's a pretty little shot and it's Nathan McKinnon, a 50-goal scorer, but you got to make that save. Look, Faber's in a good spot. Middleton's in a good spot. Your goalie has to have that save. I'm not gonna blame the game on him. They still go to overtime. I mean, it's still, they still sat back on their heels. You can't defend on your heels against the Colorado Avalanche. You got to play moving forward. But again, it's okay, in my opinion, to hold these guys to a high standard when they make millions and millions of dollars. You do your job or get the fuck out. That's the reality of the NHL. Look at Chris Knoblauch, just got fired. 2 cup finals in a row, and then they make the playoffs, and then the guy gets fired. It's just, this is the world that we live in here. And Carter Hutton is in our chat. Played in the National Hockey League. There it says that can't go in. And that's not the only reason they didn't win. Let's not kid ourselves. Colorado just, they took advantage of the fact that no Brodin and no Eriksson Ek. And they're just, you're not deep enough to lose those 2 players and be able to affect the game. And so I'm still going to praise Bill Guerin. I'm not backing off, loving what Bill Guerin did this year. To me, everything he did from the Wild to the Olympics to the Quinn, I'm totally in his corner. He will improve his team this summer. He will get an extension out of Quinn Hughes. I love the courage that he does and the conviction that he does his job with. I have such respect for that. And obviously our friend Chris Kelleher, we root for him. You know, he's a regular on our show, but at the end of the day, just, not deep enough, injuries. And that's just, that goal can't go in. It just can't.
I actually want to ask you one more thing about the goal though, because I saw it online. I'm seeing it in the chat right now. Everyone's going at Jake Middleton, saying, what was Middleton doing? He was just holding the middle of the ice. He's holding the middle of the ice.
I mean, sure. Could he have moved
it's a 6-on-5
bit? But it's a 6-on-5. You want to protect the middle. Take your chances on the perimeter and protect the middle. Listen, we're about to have a head coach come on our show here in the next 30 seconds, and we can start with him. Obviously, so our next guest here, Ryan Cruthers, who is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Stampede. You guys know we talk about the USHL on here a lot. They're getting ready to start the Clark Cup Finals against the Muskegon Lumberjacks here. The first game of the Clark Cup Finals, for those of you who are big time hockey fans, it'll be free on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can get game 1 of the Clark Cup Finals. Johnny will be calling. Are you calling this weekend as well, or just next?
Yeah,
week?
I'm doing every game. Every game.
You're heading out to call these games.
Yeah.
So
I'm leaving
you guys
today.
will be able to watch these games if you want. So we're going to have Ryan on for the first time here. And then when we're done, we're going to have Ryan on. Then we're going to have Colten St. Clair on from Muskegon for about 15 minutes each. We're going to talk a little junior, a little USHL. And then we're going to have Steve Levy on to kind of finish talking up about the playoffs, go back to the NHL. I think we're working on getting Tyler Yaremchuk on here at around 10:45 in order to continue the Edmonton conversation. So we've got a lot going on today. Let's bring Ryan Cruthers on here for the first time, and let's talk a little Clark Cup finals we got going on. Good morning, Ryan. Thanks for coming on with us.
What's up, guys? How are you? Good to see you guys.
Listen, I got to start with the first and most important thing that I realized this morning, just doing a little bit of research on you. You were on that Robert, not only were you on that team, you were the captain of that Robert Morris team that cursed us my freshman year of college. I kid you not. We talked about the curse of that weekend being out in Alaska. We lost to you guys, and that guy, Kenny the Timberwolf, if you remember him, did that ceremony at the banquet. And we said that year we had the curse of Kenny the Timberwolf following the team around all year. And then Luke Popko, if you remember him at all, did something totally disgusting that I'm not going to talk about.
I've heard this. I heard how the curse was broken. I've heard
to break the curse. So when I saw that, I was like laughing
player.
right away. Yeah, I was laughing right away. And I'm sorry to everyone for starting with the inside jokes. And I know we brought Ryan on here to talk about the unbelievable series you guys just had against Fargo and just how excited you are to be in the Clark Cup Finals.
Yeah, what a series. I don't think I've ever seen a playoff series like that, or I've certainly never been a part of it. 3 overtime games, a triple overtime game. Fargo is a great team, gave us a lot of trouble, and what a series. A lot of controversial calls, a lot of things. It was great to be a part of. Great experience for me, great experience for our team. And now we're excited to move on to the finals. It's been a long time since Sioux Falls has been there, and I know our community is excited. The crowd we had at Game 5 Tuesday was insane, and we're expecting another good crowd, and now we have another really good opponent coming in.
I'm fired up to be there. The Denny's one of my favorite places to watch a hockey game, and that's not just junior hockey. That's hockey in general. And Coach, it's always great to talk to you. A couple of guys on your team I actually want to talk about specifically, one of them being Brent Solomon, drafted by Detroit last summer, stud of a kid. That shorthanded goal he had earlier in the playoffs was disgusting. But what have you kind of made from his season? Because I was talking to him a little bit earlier last week, and he wasn't sure that he was going to be, a top 6 guy or one of the key offensive guys on this team. And he's pretty much taken over and has been one of the key offensive contributors for you guys.
Yeah, he's had a great road. I give him a lot of credit. He's put a lot of time into his game, and came last year for a little bit at the end of his high school season and didn't play for a big time Minnesota high school, kind of a small one, and came here and our first interaction was funny. He's in line during a drill and just comes up to me, and I said, "Hey, how's it going so far since you've been here? You enjoying it?" He's only been here for 48 hours, maybe one practice. And he's like, "Not good, coach, not good." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "How could it be this bad already?" And he goes, "Yeah, I went golfing yesterday. I couldn't get off the deck. I couldn't hit my driver." And I was like, "Buddy, we're about to go into the playoffs, and you're worried about your golf game, Minnesota high school kid." And we built a relationship through the summer, and we started early. And we read a book as a team, and then we talk about every 2 weeks. We do a Zoom as a group, and he led the charge, and I was really surprised because of he was kind of a casual kid. Then he got drafted, and he took it to another level of just commitment to getting stronger and working on his game and being a leader. And then we got to training camp, and he was excellent, and he was so hot to start the year. He's one of the leading scorers in the league for a long time. And then we went to the World Junior A Challenge together, and he ended up being an assistant captain for us, and we won a gold medal there. And then we came back, and he kind of went through a little bit of a slump, and he worked his way back. But I think for him, not only is he playing in our top 6, but I don't think anyone thought he'd be a first over the boards PK guy. And now he's killing penalties for us as well. So he's really rounded out his game. I think he did a lot of work behind the scenes when nobody was looking this summer, and super fortunate to have him on our team.
Well, I'm sure Detroit Red Wings fans love to hear about their prospects when they're kind of making their way. And I for him and really for any of these guys, because, obviously the USHL, a major feeder to major feeder to college hockey, which has really become the premier path to the National Hockey League, which is most of our fan base, is following their NHL team closely. And, when you look at this experience that your players are getting going through this playoff run, you played a ton of pro hockey. You played in the American League. You've been to the training camps. You've been around a lot of high-level coaching in your playing career, and now your coaching career. You've grinded and made your way through it. But, talk about playoff experience and how much that matters, because I know you've done it as a player, you've done it as a coach, you've done it at these different levels, how it can really prepare these guys to take the next step into college and into professional hockey here over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think the mental side of the game is so important, right? And you learn through either mistakes or you learn through experience. And unfortunately, I've made some mistakes in my career as well. And I was up 3-0 in a playoff series in my pro career, and we ended up losing 4 straight. And I feel like I've leaned on that experience as a player a ton and what not to do and things that you could change. And at the same time, I was a part of a team in Utah in the East Coast League, and we won a triple overtime game against Fresno in the playoffs. So I had that experience to talk to the guys, but unfortunately we lost in triple overtime to Fargo. But those experiences help you mold the way that you're going to, communicate to your players. And then for your players, they're going to take it to the next level and to college. And I think what playoff hockey does is you have to have a really short memory, right? I mean, you make a mistake in the regular season on a Friday, you do video Saturday morning, it bleeds into your game Saturday. You talk about it during the next week, you work on it, and you grind through it. In the playoffs, you just really don't have that runway, especially when you're going to 5 games and you play Tuesday, off Wednesday, back at it to play Friday. And we've done the 5 games in both our series. So for us, it's been a lot of the video and having a short memory. And I think that's one of the things that our guys will take with them is high stake games, really just slowing down their brain and being able to just focus on what's important. And that's the next shift, because, there really is no tomorrow when you start going through these series. So our guys have been great. We have a great leadership group. The extension that I have, not just with my coaching staff, but our captains and our leadership group is like none I've been a part of. And I honestly think, looking back on my experiences as a player, I wish I had leaders and captains. And I was a captain in most places I was. But I've never seen anything like this. Like the way that they lead and the way that they feed off each other as leaders. So fortunate to have them. They've really driven this thing, that group.
Well, that's something I want to get into as well. Obviously Colby and I know your captain pretty well, Logan Rankowski, who played for Colby last year with the Titans and then got called up and finished the year with you guys.
My power play went to shit after we lost him, just for the record.
He actually,
so I interviewed him too.
I interviewed him yesterday, which is it's gonna come out today. But he was saying that he wasn't even sure he was gonna make this team at a camp. And not only do you have him as the captain, but then you also have the rookie of the year this year in the USHL and Cooper Solar. Like, so you got the guy who's 20 scoring 43 plus goals in the season, who's now your captain, and the young kid who's the rookie of the year. Like, this is a well-balanced team. And I think that kind of speaks to what you were saying about leadership.
Yeah, I think the thing that gets lost in this season is, like, our story started in main camp, and Logan was one of 6 20-year-olds, and you could only keep 4, and nothing was promised to him, and nothing was guaranteed. And he came in and played for us last year, a season ago, and then he went back to the Titans, and then we brought him back again. And he's just a kid you love to be around, as you guys know. You know him well, and yeah, believe me, there was a lot of discussions like, okay, who are we going to take? Because you can only keep 4 of them. And we have 2 20-year-old goalies. And then, our back end was young. So we have an 09 on the back end, Jake Prunty, that led, rookies in scoring as a defenseman. He's a stud. So yeah, it wasn't given to Logan, but I said it while he was, doing his interview on the ice, first start of the game Tuesday. Thank God we didn't cut that guy. Because he's been an animal. He's done an unbelievable job. But I think his contributions go well further than just a score sheet. He's such a calming influence in our room. Like, our captains that wear C's and we spread them around, you have Rankowski, right? Then you have JJ Montero and Joey McGraw. Montero and McGraw are like possessed like dogs. Like, they're out of control. They're crazy. They don't shut up. They don't stop. And then you have Logan, who's like calm, collected. So they balance each other extremely well. And Logan's really taken the younger guys. Logan was cut in this league. And his experiences that he's drawn on and his willingness to share it, and him being open with guys about his struggles and setbacks has given Cooper Soul or Jake Prunty, those guys to be the top rookies in the league. So we kind of have it bookend with him at the top and these young guys at the bottom. And he's really helped our culture, but our development path and what it takes. And we've had some great guys come through here, like Ethan Wittenbach, like Witter just left yesterday. He's
been with you guys all week.
Yeah, well, he's been here since Quinnipiac lost, he's been here. It's like every time I turn around, or like Witter's here. So no, it's cool to have him, and it was great to have him in the room in Game 5, and just this culture that we've built over the last 2 years. Logan's been a big part of it, and all these guys have him, and we're super proud of it.
I can just say this, and I've talked about it on our show before. It's our main job as coaches, especially at the North American League level. Our main focus should be getting players to your teams and getting players to your level. And I remember when you guys borrowed, you took Logan briefly, and I remember thinking, like, because all the skill and the tools were there. And to me, like, I used to kind of push. And one of the things I liked about Logan was, like, he was coachable. Like, I could push him. I could kind of put my foot on him a little bit at times because we had a good personal relationship. So he knew that I was coming from a good place with him. And we never took his ice time away. We never limited his power play, because I just felt like, why be stubborn when a guy's skill set is. But I always felt like if he could just sort of, we were talking about Bruce Cassidy and how he holds guys accountable so well as a coach, even if his methods aren't always the best. Like, he gets you more involved in winning wall battles and committing to not leaving the zone early, and, like, really just those details that make the game a little bit harder. And I'll give you guys a lot of credit, because Logan is a guy that, he needed to improve in those areas. He was capable, but he had to commit to it. And you guys obviously got him to commit to it. And now he goes and he's basically the leading goal scorer in the league all year. And, he's going to go to Vermont next year. And if he continues down this path, he'll give himself an opportunity to be a pro one day because of his skill set.
Yeah, he really will. And his work ethic and his attitude. But I think those are all things that he matured with, The biggest thing when we brought him in, we were losing guys for World Junior A Challenge to go play for US. And, Ethan Wittenbach was the one I was like, hey, get Rankowski here. I'll be honest, I didn't know who Logan Rankowski really was. I heard the name because we're both from Long Island. But he's like, if you get him here, like, he'll score. Like, I'll get him the puck and he'll score. And I think that's cool, because, like, that's our culture driving who they want in their locker room and who they want to be here. And then I spoke to Craig DeRemus, who's one of my best friends, and he's known Logan and Coach Logan. And I just said, well, am I going to like the kid? And he's like, you're going to love the kid. So you're not going to like him, you're going to love him.
That's a great family, too.
He's my captain, right, the following year. So, just great. I'm super fortunate to have him here. He's like, for me, he's like a son. And guys talk about that with him. We have a great relationship. I got 2 boys that he's great to. And, I'm really lucky to coach a kid like him.
Yeah. Well, look, we're really excited to see the progress and to watch this series take place. If it's anything like the Fargo series, it's going to be a great reason to tune into these games. I'll be in Muskegon next Friday, so I'll definitely come down and say hello. You guys were 43-16-3 this year. I mean, that's a big time season. It's a long year. You lose players throughout to go to different tournaments, and you guys were able to just kind of be consistently really good all year. So this series against Muskegon, it should be a really, really entertaining series, and it obviously kicks off tomorrow night in your building on Amazon Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can get the game for free. And we'll be looking forward to watching. Johnny, I know you're calling it, but we're excited.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I do got to ask one more thing, just because, I feel like it is important, Coach. You've mentioned Ethan's name a couple of times here, and, he did come play for you last year. He's sticking around the team this year, which I think says a lot about the culture of your team and just everything you've done for him. This is a kid who was playing youth hockey 2 years ago, and he just led the country in points. Like, your experience with Ethan, your relationship with him, I know we have a lot of Calgary Flames fans who listen to this show, so I'd love to hear you talk about him. And I know it kind of takes away from the Clark Cup final a little bit, but maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think last year we tried to restore pride in the Stampede, who's been a great organization. And again, like Colby mentioned, our record, we had a really good record last year, and we wanted to enhance it this year. And we did, and it wasn't easy. I think what gets lost with us being in first place for so long is that it wasn't easy. We had a lot of injuries, serious injuries, and it was a next man up mentality. And that's why I think we're really hard out and we're still alive right now. You know, we never lost. We hadn't lost 3 games in a row the whole season. We haven't. And so it makes us a tough out, and it's that mentality that we have. But you know, it's guys like Ethan that help build it, and he's a kid that, you know, again, since his season ended here in Sioux Falls with Quinnipiac, I feel like his gear's been hanging in our locker room, and he's on the ice and he's around the guys and he's going out to eat with them, and he wants to be a part of this, and he was supposed to be a part of this. And fortunately for him, he, you know, succeeded so well last year and then had a big summer and deserves the right to move on. And what he did this year, I don't think anyone could project that, you know. And but he's another story like us. Like, we traded for him from Chicago for basically nothing, and got him here. And I think that's what our team looks like. We have a lot of good players, you know, whether it's Rankowski, you know, Zokos, you know, whoever, Macrinas, these guys all had great youth hockey careers. And as you guys know, like, a lot of players in the USHL were the best youth hockey players. And then they get to junior hockey and it's eye-opening, and sometimes there's setbacks. And I think what's nice about our group is it's a group of guys that had setbacks. You know, we have one NHL pick, you know, Brent Solomon. You know, we're going to go up against a team that they're not a 5th seed. I mean, Colten and I coached against each other in the All-Star game, which was like, I don't know if that's end of January, February, we were together, because they were in first place and we were in first place. So it's not, the East was so tight this year. You know, I don't even know. I think they have 4, 5, 6 NHL draft picks over there.
Yeah, I think 5.
It's maybe a different makeup.
Hell of a team.
You know,
yeah, it's a hell of a team.
I got 15 USHL cuts at one point, you know. So it's 2 different makeups, but they both work. No, they want to prove people wrong. So it's that's kind of been our mentality, and Ethan was the same way. And I think what Ethan has done since is shown those guys that there's still a path. Like, it's not over. Like, Ethan was traded here, supposed to be a young kid, supposed to play 2 years of juniors, and now he's making decisions if he's going back to college or if he's going to play in the NHL. And it happens that quick. So I think he inspired our guys and gave them hope that have had setbacks in the USHL and junior hockey, that, you know, it's everyone's path is different. I know it's cliche, but to have him in our locker room to tell his story, I think it's a huge motivator for us. And I'm fortunate that our relationship is strong enough that we talk weekly, talk all the time. He wants to be here. He wants to be in the locker room, in the training room. And I'm really proud of that culture we built last year and guys like him enhancing it.
Yeah, well, he's a hell of a player. We'll be seeing him in the NHL sooner than later. But I do hope he takes his time, because I still think there's a lot he can learn from college hockey and from Rand and that staff. But I do think it won't be long before we see him wearing that Calgary Flames jersey. So good luck tomorrow. We'll see. Johnny, I'll see you tomorrow.
Guys.
I'll see you next Friday.
See you tomorrow night.
And best of luck here in the series.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck. All right, from one coach in the Clark Cup Final to the next, Colten St. Clair, the Muskegon Lumberjacks, first-year head coach in the USHL. Let's bring him on in. Getting to the Clark Cup Final in the first season is quite the accomplishment. So, Vic, why don't we bring in –
Vic said
I think
wait 1 second here.
We're going to work on getting him in.
Yeah, we'll give a little background there, Johnny. On
played at North Dakota, won a national championship on that team with Schmaltz and Besser and Kajula, friend of the show, Bryn Chiswick. So comes with a lot of experience. He joined the team last year as an assistant coach, I believe halfway through, and then took over the job this year. So it's been his first year as a head coach with the Muskegon Lumberjacks. And like Coach Cruthers said, they were a 5 seed entering the playoffs, but you know, they had a year of, I think, figuring things out. They lost Tynan Lawrence, their captain, their best player.
Halfway through the year.
You know,
not easy to do.
A lot of
right?
adversity. Yeah, a lot of adversity. But this team's
not
loaded.
Easy to do. And then they brought in Carter Amico. All right, let's bring Colten in here. Let's get to it. Colten, thanks for doing this, man. I know you're in transit today to Sioux Falls. We might have.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we do hear you. Yeah, we got you. Yeah, thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully I can make it work. So thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're really excited about the finals here, Colten. And we were just talking to Ryan, and we were starting to get into your team, and you got a bunch of NHL draft picks. And one of the first places I want to start with you, because we have a lot of Flyers fans here, is with Carter Amico. He comes to you halfway through the year. He's a highly touted prospect, and it really seems like he's found his game and rediscovered what has sort of made him such a top prospect for the Philadelphia Flyers. And I'm just curious, what it's been like for you having him with Muskegon and coaching him in the second half of the year.
Carter's great. Can you hear us far still?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got you. Go ahead. We might have to.
So it's easy for.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be too tough. The Lumberjacks are in the airport right now, flying to Sioux Falls. They're skating today at 4:30, so they're making their way over to South Dakota to get ready for the Clark Cup Final tomorrow. Not sure if it's going to work here with Coach St. Clair.
Yeah, listen, we'll go to him. Maybe we'll get him on next week. It was really nice of him to be willing to do it from the airport. But yeah, listen, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let me just message him, Jonny. Go ahead.
Yeah. So are we just totally going to move on from that? We'll go into more NHL and then okay. All right, so just to wrap that up, the USHL Clark Cup Final starts tomorrow night. Best of 5 series between the Sioux Falls Stampede and the Muskegon Lumberjacks. Muskegon is the defending champion. That's the team Tynan Lawrence played for. Obviously Tynan's going to be a top-end draft pick in this upcoming draft in June. So a lot of great names to look for, too, on Muskegon. They got a couple of draft picks and guys like Carter Sanderson to Pittsburgh, Melvin Novotny to Buffalo, Victor Noringer to Nashville, and Carter Amico to Philly. So lots of talent to be showcased this weekend, next weekend, and potentially a game 5 the following Tuesday. But we'll save the USHL talk for next week. Let's get back into, I guess, playoff hockey right now, Colby. We didn't really finish our conversation on the Minnesota Wild, the Colorado Avalanche.
We should.
We could dive into more of that a little bit because Minnesota, I think they did show a lot of fight. And one of the things that I did want to highlight, Brock Faber last night had a really good post-game quote. And Michael Russo, good friend of the show, tweeted it out. And I wanted to read what Brock Faber had to say in the postgame. So this is what the quote was. Brock said, "They deserve to win this series, plain and simple." And yeah, that's just where it gets frustrating, right? Because when we're at our absolute best, I think we can beat this team. Just they were more consistent. I feel like they outplayed us most of the series, which that's just how it is. That's plain and simple. You can't really hide or dance around the fact that they outplayed us. But like I said, that's where the frustration comes in. I feel like when we are at our best, we can beat that team. We just didn't, and they deserve to win. And I couldn't agree with that assessment more. Like when Minnesota was playing their game, they were bringing it to Colorado. But when Colorado was playing their game, Minnesota didn't stand a chance in this series.
I don't agree with that. I don't.
You don't?
I don't agree
really?
with that. No.
You don't agree with that?
No, because I thought.
Well, I'm saying sure with the roster too, without Eriksson and Brodin. I'm not saying we don't know what it looks like.
Minnesota played really well in round 1. They did what they needed to do, but do I think Minnesota's A game versus Colorado's A game is enough? No, I don't think that whatsoever. And I think we were just shown players in or players out. Listen, part of the Stanley Cup playoffs is staying healthy. I mean, that is a huge part of it. Or making sure that you have enough depth to withstand some of the injuries. Like, let's not pretend like Colorado wasn't playing with a half Cale Makar. I mean,
for sure.
He had a million issues. They had no Malinsky. Like they had some injuries too. Now, granted.
Wait, so what are you disagreeing with?
Well, what I'm saying is I think if Minnesota played their A game and Colorado played their A game, I think Colorado still comes out on top in that series.
I was saying that though.
Oh, I thought you were saying you agreed with Brock Faber's comments, basically saying like we didn't play our game, and if we did, we could have beat them. That's how I understood it.
I said when Minnesota really had their best game, they were able to play and could have potentially beat the Colorado Avalanche. Yes, but when Colorado was playing their game, Minnesota didn't stand a chance. That's what I was saying. You know what I'm saying? If they found Colorado off their game, yes, they could have won, which they showed in the first period last night. They showed a little bit in game 1. They showed it in game 3. Like Minnesota is a very good team, but when Colorado is at their best, nobody stands a chance. That is what I was saying.
And that's the thing. You're gonna get pushes. I mean, when you have the type of talent that Minnesota has, like you're gonna get stretches where there's a push. But I still think even saying like, well, Minnesota did it for for small amounts, like, okay, yeah, like that's fine. But at the end of the day, like it's a full 60-minute game. Like you still have to have, we always look at the ice tilt. That's the one stat that we love, right? When Brant sends us and shares the ice tilt with us, because it just really demonstrates where the play is happening, not necessarily where the puck is, just where the play and where the body's on the ice. Where's the where's the time being spent? Like, I'll even read to you what he said. Remember, ice tilt is territorial momentum. It measures average location of the play, all players in the preceding 2 minutes. So when you look at the ice tilt in that series and you see how much more tilt was towards Colorado, it was just more sustained. And I know we both went into the series thinking like we were riding high and basically drinking the Kool-Aid because it's like, wow, they got by Dallas. But again, Colorado looked, in my opinion, better in this series against Minnesota than they did against LA. I think there was a little bit more opening and there was a little bit more offense from Minnesota, which, Colorado was able to counter on. Also, their power play woke up in the series. And the other thing I'm going to say, I'm going to give a Vic was right. Do you remember when they traded for Blackwood and you and I loved it and Vic hated it? Vic was right. Blackwood is not the guy. Like, this is going to be Wedgwood's net moving forward here. And again, I know Vic has never rubbed our nose in that and he's never brought it up, but I'll give him his flowers on that one. Cause like, I think it's the end of the Mackenzie Blackwood experience. I think Wedgwood's your guy. That's who you're going to run with. But at the end of the day, like, I just think that this Colorado team, man, like it's hard to see anybody beating them right now. It really is. And you just see it, the level these guys are playing at. Hopefully this time off over the next 4 or 5 days really helps Cale Makar. Because like, we want to see Cale Makar playing. We want to see Malinsky playing. Like, we want these guys back in the lineup. Colorado, Sean didn't play basically the second half of that game last night.
No. And Randy actually asked me in the chat. He said, Johnny, do you think the Wild would have won if they were healthy? I still say no. Going into the series, I probably would have said yes, they can win if healthy. But after watching the series play out, like, I'm not regretting taking the Wild going into the series. The reasoning why I picked the Wild, I still believed at the time. Now, when you watch it play out, it's easy to go back and say why you were wrong. But I still think the Minnesota Wild are a very good hockey team. They're just not as good as consistently enough as the Colorado Avalanche. And even when the Avs, like Nathan McKinnon said it last night in his postgame too, like, the good thing is that we went down early. We felt we had enough time to get to our game. And when they get to their game, you see what happens. Like, Colorado cannot be stopped when they're there. Sure, they have, a 10-minute lapse and it hurts them and they go down 3, but they find their way back. And even in game 1, they're up 3-0. They blow it. And then they go down 5-4. They find their way back. This team is just too good. The game is too long. And again, like, even if, whoever moves on in the Western Conference Final, whether it's Vegas, whether it's Anaheim, like, I am not going to make that mistake of picking against Colorado again. I just don't think anyone is better than them. I think this is their Stanley Cup to lose, and that's kind of how we started this show. But I do think also, I agree with you, Colby. It is Wedgwood's net to lose. I found it interesting that they went to him in the second, and that just kind of proves the point that they felt they were still in that game, because Chris Chelios said on TNT, he's like, I'd stick with Blackwood. You kind of went with this plan, rest Wedgwood. You're going to go with him in game 6, and Blackwood's the guy you picked to play tonight, so let him finish it out. And, it was clear that bringing in Wedgwood was the right move, even though the guys in front of Wedgwood didn't really struggle, right? Like, Minnesota didn't have anything once Wedgwood came in.
Wallstedt also would have had to been perfect in the series. Like, he would have had to have been.
Well, that's the reason why I picked Minnesota too. He was unbelievable. I still thought he played a great series.
He wasn't. It wasn't good enough for Wallstedt. He ends up not starting a game, which means they didn't like the way he played the night before. I don't like the game tying goal last night. If that doesn't go in, we're not even having this conversation today. We're talking about the series getting extended, which Colorado would have ended sooner than later anyway, even if Minnesota was able to hang on to that game. But you can't just hang on in the playoffs. It rarely works. It does here and there, but it rarely does. The Flyers try to do it against Carolina. It caught up with them. And so I just don't think you got enough out of Wallstedt, Johnny. Like I think he had a solid playoff run, but to me, not good enough to get by a team like the Colorado Avalanche that is going to put so much pressure on you, and they're going to find the cracks. They're going to find the cracks. Now, I'm still, again, like I said, I'm not. Everybody's like couldn't wait to basically like shit on everything Minnesota and say, oh, you know, I saw stuff today from Flyers fans being like, well, the Flyers didn't have to give up anything for Quinn Hughes, and they've made it to the same place that the Minnesota Wild did in the playoffs this year. And I just kind of shake my head at that, and I'm like, you know what? If you need to cope, that's fine, because Quinn Hughes is a game changer. Like any way you look at it, you can tell me he doesn't kill penalties. You can tell whatever you want to tell me. The kid, he's a game changer. Every time he has the puck, you know, him and Brock Faber are a true treat to watch. I wonder if either of those guys, probably not because of the Olympics, but maybe wonder if either of those guys will go play World Championships. Maybe I could see Faber as a younger guy. I could see him doing it. Crosby's going to play World Championships. He played in the Olympics. So, you know, so there's that. But yeah, listen, let me ask you this, Johnny, and I know Vic put it in the chat as we wait for Steve Levy to join us here. Who's going to be a more difficult opponent for Colorado? I don't know if it really matters who it is, but I don't think either of the teams waiting for them or trying to get to them has good enough goaltending to withstand the offensive pressure you're going to get night in and night out for 7 games if it takes that long. I just don't. Yeah. But who do you think could put up a bigger fight against Colorado?
I mean, I feel like the obvious choice here is Vegas, just because their blue line, I'd say, is much better than Anaheim's. But offensively, I feel like scoring-wise, Anaheim will probably keep up better, if that makes sense. I think Anaheim poses more threats offensively than Vegas does, but if you're talking about a more well-rounded team, I'd say Vegas is probably the bigger threat to Colorado. Like Vegas, I could see those games being like, you know, maybe 3-2, 4-2, you know, more low scoring, where the Anaheim games, we could see like that 5-4, 4-3, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's kind of the difference in the play styles between Vegas and Anaheim. And I'm not convinced tonight, you know, we can go into those games tonight that Vegas shuts the door and finishes that series tonight with McNabb being suspended for 1 game. We got to talk about that, right? We both thought that should have been a 2-minute penalty, and now it turns into a 1-game suspension. That's a big hole on the blue line for tonight in what is a closeout game on the road for the Vegas Golden Knights. I think Anaheim wins this game tonight. I'm not so confident that Vegas finishes it off.
I think Vegas will finish the series off
tonight.
I do. Yeah, I do. I think they're going to end it tonight.
Carter Hart's been good, but I don't think he's been that good in the series. He's let in a lot of weak goals.
Last game, he was really good.
Yeah, but there's been games where he's let in some weak ones.
I agree, but when you look at the games where he hasn't played well, the next game out, he's been really good. So who knows? Now, I was trying to find so with the McNabb thing, because we both felt like the McNabb thing was really a 2-minute penalty, but when they talked about it being a late hit with considerable force against a player ineligible to be hit that resulted in an injury, when you read the definition of the explanation, it's hard to argue it. As much as I would have been okay with a 2-minute penalty where I hated seeing Ryan Poehling injured, when you read what, you know, player of department safety said, I don't know, like hard to argue with that, right? Chat, what do you think? When you hear that considerable force against a player ineligible to be hit, which resulted in an injury, are you bothered by that? Because I'm not bothered by that at all. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's unfortunate for both guys because you want Poehling to play, you want McNabb to play, but it is fair.
But the only thing that bothers me about it, Colby, because we talked about, again, I think I talked about it yesterday or 2 days ago, that Sabrin hit on Josh Anderson. So if you're telling me if Josh Anderson was hurt, that turns into a 5 and a 1-game suspension. But because he got up from it, like he was hurting a little bit, but then he got up from it. It's just a 2, and you know that game goes the way it does.
Listen, when you see when you see Poehling,
but it's the same. But it's the same. It's the same play to me. Just one results in injury and one doesn't.
But that's something that they take into account when they look at these things, right? And
I know that they should call the results.
I know that I know that that creates a little bit of a gray area, and I get why that's something that's difficult. But at the end of the day, like the visual of Ryan Poehling looking like a cartoon sliding down the ice and then trying to get up and not being able to get up. Listen, that's that matters. And if you injure a guy on a gray area hit and they can't play, like I'm okay with you not being able to play. And I disagree, Brooke, saying McNabb left his feet and his shoulder was to his head.
Well, they said the left foot came up. That was something that I saw
yesterday.
Johnny, but it's not like, but he didn't jump into it. He didn't jump into it.
When you play the game of hockey mostly on one foot, like when you're skating, other than when you're like gliding, you have 2 feet on the ice. When you're skating, one foot is constantly coming up off the ice. When you hit a player, a lot of times when you break it down into slow motion, it looks like a foot came off the ice because it did. The game of hockey, most of it is played on one foot when you're skating. So a lot of times a hit happens, there's so much force, and that causes a foot to come up in the air or even 2. So I agree that it's a late hit. I agree that it was forceful. I agree that it resulted in an injury. So, okay, we're saying that we're okay with the one game, but I don't think it was this like egregious head hunting play. I don't think he even hit him directly to the head.
He didn't hit him in the head, but the head
hit was
slammed against the boards.
You had whiplash on it, which is awful. And again, like Ryan Poehling's going to be out now. There's no way you're going to see him at least for 5 days into concussion protocol. So the outcome is terrible. But you can't ever form an opinion solely on slow motion. I say that time and time again. Slow motion gives you information to use, but it's not the only thing. And Brooke in our chat,
unless it's goalie interference.
There are pictures online showing the feet coming up and the shoulder to the head. Again, you're grabbing freeze frames. You're grabbing freeze frames of a fluid situation. Like I said, when you make contact with a player, there's force involved. Your body, your feet, things can come up, but he did not launch himself in the air to hit Ryan Poehling. No chance. I'm buying that. Whether you can grab freeze frames and see a foot up in the air. Yes, you can do that, but that's part of a collision in hockey. So, and remember, when you're talking about a hit to the head, okay, it's got to be, what is the principal point of contact? Is the principal point of contact shoulder? Is it this, and then it moves up? Like that's part of it. It was
straight chest, wasn't it?
It was not the principal point of contact, was not the head. So again, that's why it was only one game, in my opinion, and not multiple games. And look, Brooke, like we appreciate the contributions and the discourse, and we're not happy to see a player get hurt here.
No,
like, not happy, but we're just trying to call a spade here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brooke's also been consistent in the chat throughout the playoffs. Big Ducks fan, so we're happy to have some Ducks representatives in our chat. We don't really have many. Yeah, I think Brooke might be our only Ducks fan, at least the ones that we know of in our chat.
Let me say this to you, Brooke, and because you want more games for this suspension, and our friend is making a really good point to us right now. This is really a 2-game suspension, right? He gets thrown out of the game in the first 5 minutes.
First period.
Early in the first period. I don't know the exact time. So he played 3 minutes that game. So McNabb this is really a 2-game suspension, not a 1-game suspension. And I'll give the assist to our friend. No, not my good point. Gary Lawless makes a good point there. So I want to make sure that I give him the credit there. So Brooke, I promise you, we're not rage baiting you with this conversation. I'm telling you how I feel about it in black and white. And so next, we'll move on from there, Johnny, because I know our friend Steve Levy and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen are ready to come on the show here.
Oh God, should we make him say it right off the bat? Let's bring Steve Levy into the show.
What a
video!
What a video! It's not me, guys.
What a video! That was awesome by the Sabres doing that. I know you love that, right?
Oh, it was perfect. And the social media, and it's all fun. And listen, imagine if I asked those guys to say Buffalo's GM's name. and not Kevin Adams. You know, good luck with Jarmo Kekalainen, right? Like, come on now. And speaking of names, it's funny because head coaches can never do their own players' names.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
So Tomas Hertl, who's finally decided to score goals now in consecutive games, and at just the right time, by the way, Torch calls him Tommy. I promise you, nobody in the history of Hertl's life has called him Tommy. Maybe other things, but not Tommy. Mm-hmm. And of course, Torch can get away with it too. It's all in good fun, yeah.
They're all like that though, Leaves. You remember how about Barry? I mean, Barry probably didn't get one of his players' names right in his entire coaching career, other than
only last names. He would never even try the first. You know, in football, especially in college football, when you deal with 100 guys, coaches don't even try. Not even nicknames. They are strictly the uniform number. 65 can play the game. He's got some good skills. He can do some things. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even chance. His first name's Dan. Coach, can we get out Dan?
I think it was Torrey Krug and Mason Kruger. This is one of the funniest ones that I remember. Like, they would call Torrey Krug Kruger and they would call Mason Kruger Krugs. Like, they actually just like switched the last names. That's one of the funnier like nicknames. That would make me so confused if I was on that bench. But all the guys know it and all the guys love it. But Leaves, it's great to have you on here. Obviously, you've been grinding throughout these playoffs. I mean, the other night you kind of brought it upon yourself when you called triple overtime, I think, between the Ducks and Vegas. We only got a few minutes. Did you say you said triple, right? You asked.
I think I said in the studio the other night, we're due for a triple, right? Like, we haven't had one yet. We are due and overdue for a real one. We always get one banger in a postseason. We've had a few double overtimes, I think, but I think we're still waiting on the first triple. And, you know, I'm joking about it. I have the history with it, but I actually love it. I do enjoy it. It's special because it doesn't happen all the time. So,
yeah, they are.
Are you rooting for it tonight? The TNT has the game.
The late game. The late game, never the early game, late game, right? Always, So,
what do you prefer doing in the playoffs? Because like you're in the studio for a couple days, then you're out on the road calling a game. Like, what do you prefer? Or maybe you just like doing it all. I'm sure, but what's the preference?
I really do like the mix. I'm really lucky, and Butchie and I have this good thing going, right, where we sort of switch spots there, and I start in, then he goes in, and all that stuff. So it's fun. Look, in the old days, I do remember sticking with a series, which was really cool, right? Yeah. You really got to sink your teeth into it, become part of the fabric of a series. But, you know, back in those days, I think we had everything. And so, you know, we weren't switching. Now it's nights. So forget about having the same play-by-play crew. It's different networks in the same series. And it could be every other game even in a series. So that's all gone away, and that's obviously way above me. But I'm really fortunate, really blessed to have the mix. It's totally different preparation. It's a totally different night, you know. The play-by-play in the arena is so intense, and there is nothing better than being in the live arena for a big game, a playoff game. So, and studio becomes super cool at the final because, you know, we have it this year on ABC, and we'll take the studio show on the road, and that's really awesome too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you don't start swapping outfits with PK in the studio, like I think we can let him do his thing, which I've actually defended him. I've defended PK, and I don't know why
people care so much.
Let the guy wear what he wants. Like I always say, if he wants to dress like a woman, then let him dress like a woman. Who cares? Like if that's what he wants to do, good for him.
He's made it easier for the rest of us. Now I don't feel bad if I take my tie off one night. You know what I mean? Like I can have that's my casual look. Yeah, Johnny, you said I can't believe people care so much also. Yeah. And like it dominates Twitter or X or whatever calling it these days. And it almost it makes what we're saying like doesn't even matter. Like nobody is focused on any of the words or messages or Oshie's great analysis. Or PK will make a great point about something. I'm like, I didn't see that. I didn't realize that. But they're so fixated on how high his pants are above his waist that we can't get past. So that piece is comical, and it's a good reminder the lessons in broadcasting that we all learned a long time ago. Growing up for me, it was inform and entertain. The pendulum is definitely flip-flopped the other way. It does seem now everywhere it's entertain first and inform once in a while. You know.
Yeah, well,
I will say if we are,
when you put all the tweets on the big screen and you guys
Yeah.
he's a good sport, and that's why I
Yes.
appreciate it, because
Yes.
he'll eat it. He doesn't he owns it, and he's proud of it. And I think that people that get to know him know that he's a good dude. And I mean, look what he did for the Children's Hospital, and when he left, he continued to do it and he fulfilled it. So I think a lot of us, I knew PK and I knew each other at a young age, and even going back to the draft, and we probably didn't get along all that well. We were kind of competition at that time. And then obviously I was no longer competition for him as he got good and I didn't. But at the end of the day, I have a good, I like PK. I have a good relationship with him, and I appreciate that he's not afraid to just kind of put it out there and do his thing. I think it's a great mixture when you put him against, put him next to Mark Messier, who's got a 3-piece suit on and is old school. And everybody makes the jokes, do those guys hang out off the air? I think that's one of the funniest bits going on the internet.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up. There is a misconception about PK, but he is a good sport. So he takes the heat for the close. Now listen, he brings it on himself.
Yeah,
he
loves
exactly
it.
What he's doing, right? When he goes into that closet. Can you imagine what his closet looks like, or how many closets he has, right? But the other thing is all the Stanley Cup jokes. So putting him next to Mess in the clothing and the 6 cups, right?
Great.
And the top 5 all-time scorer, or top 10 all-time player, whatever category you want to put him in, right? So he's also about touching the cup and all that stuff, and how we open the show all the time. So listen, PK was a really good hockey player. Obviously won the Norris Trophy. He maintained Sidney Crosby stole a Stanley Cup when the Penguins and Predators went at it. And he's a TV star, guys. He's a TV star who was a really good hockey player and probably could have had a longer career. But he's good. He lights up every room he walks into.
Oh, yeah.
He has an unbelievable personality. And I'll say this. I don't want to put their business out on the street, but Mess and PK, and actually, they do hang out. And the three of us definitely hang out during the Cup Final. And those guys will be in Manhattan when I'm not around. They'll get together, absolutely. So we're all good. Everything's good in our neighborhood there. And we like to laugh, and we have a good time. And again, it's at the end of the day, it's hockey. It's supposed to be fun, right, guys? And we're having a good time. So
we'll move into the hockey here in a second. I just want to make one more comment about this, Leaves. I do think, since PK has been riding the Montreal Canadiens, if they get to the Cup Final, and considering you guys will be live for the Cup Final in Arena, I think PK should be able to dress Mark Messier for Game 1. I think that should be the bet that is made. I think that's the only fair way. I think it would be great content if they kind of swapped roles and PK comes in a 3-piece suit and Mess wears whatever PK puts together. So if you can pitch that to the guys.
I will suggest that. I thought you were going to say put him in a 76 Subban in the Bell Center, make him wear the jersey, which would also be cool.
Either
that
one
would be an amazing experience, right? PK is beloved in Montreal. Colby, you mentioned the Children's Hospital, the charity, and the $10 million. What, 10 million? 100 million? Again, I get lost in the zeros. $1 billion. Something no professional athlete apparently in the entire province of Quebec has ever done in the history of that great province, and maybe in all of Canada too, by the way. We went to Edmonton with Mess. I mean, can you imagine walking around Edmonton with Messier? Walking to every bar. I mean, his jersey is up there, him and Wayne, right? That's it. So it would be cool to see the other side of that and be in Montreal with PK for a Stanley Cup Final.
What do you think about that series, Leaves? Because I'll give my guy here, Jonny Laz, credit. Him and PK are the only ones I publicly heard saying Montreal can win a cup this year. Johnny picked them to go to the finals, I think, and lose to Colorado, which is still on the table. But, look, Buffalo had a big answer the other night. UPL came back in. He was great. And now you feel like you have 2 goaltenders you can win with in Buffalo, which is a nice luxury to have. So what are you expecting here for this series, which it seems like is just kind of at that tipping point where that pot is starting to scream?
Totally agree. Yes, good for you going out on a limb with Montreal.
Thanks.
We're having fun at Sean Avery's expense too. I don't know if you've seen any of that stuff online, which is a lot of fun, with PK and him going at it with the Canadiens pick. So the series has been unbelievable. To me, it's my favorite series so far that we've seen. Tampa-Montreal was very good too. And if we're being frank, it has not been a great Stanley Cup playoff season so far. It has lacked to me.
I disagree.
Oh, I agree with you, Leaves. Vic and I were talking about this in the chat in our group text last night.
Yeah.
Make your point. Make your point. Now I'll fire back. I'll rebuttal.
Look, it's always good. It's always going to be great. But in compared to recent postseasons, again, the full postseason to where we are at this point, it has lacked chaos, drama, controversy, nastiness, those kinds of things to me. The scrums, the post-whistle stuff, we have not seen a lot of that in the games that I've seen. I've seen almost all of them. But again, there are pockets that Tampa, Montreal had all of that was nasty. But in general, I feel like there have been a lot more blowouts or 2 or 3 goal games.
Well, there's an 8-0 team and an 8-1 team. I mean, look no further than that.
That's a great example of it too. And so the other night we had it in this series, right? We want I know replays, but I want controversy. Oh my God, is it a goal? No, it's not a goal. Yes, it's a goal. Wait a second. Here's goaltender interference, right? I mean, bang, bang, bang. It's just great theater, great action, things to talk about the next day on shows like yourself. Again, we could still get there. We've got 2 more rounds to go, but to this point, it has lacked for me overall in totality.
I think game to game, it's been amazing. Like inside of every game, individually, it's been so much fun every night. Maybe the series, seeing the sweeps, the 8-0, the 8-1, I could understand there. We didn't see a lot of game 7s in the first round. Maybe it lacked in that sense. But the actual game to game action for me has been great. Even the Carolina Ottawa series, all 4 games I thought were unbelievable. We saw that double OT in game 2. You saw the big hits on Nikishin, the drama with Rod Brindamore, and the coaches being so angry and fired up. That series, even though it was a sweep, I found it incredibly entertaining.
We only got 4 games of it.
Right.
But
even though it's a sweep.
But I'm saying game to game. The games themselves, I think, have been great. But I guess where you guys are saying, I'm just entertained every night. I really am. And that's to me what I care about the most, being entertained every night.
But there's no game tonight. There's no game tomorrow night, right? There are going to be some pockets.
That sucks.
Now
yes, I agree.
Now listen, so the flip side of the series not having all these 7 gamers is we're seeing sheer dominance. And we're seeing sheer dominance by the conference leaders, right? So I think that's a good thing for the NHL. It shows the regular season means something and was valid, right? We're not getting an upstart out of the blue here. We're seeing Colorado, which pounded through the entire league really all season till maybe a little hiccup late, and Carolina did what they did in the East, boom. And what's interesting to me is, Colorado's doing this with 2 goalies. I don't feel that great about Colorado. I got to be honest. I think there's some things going on there. 2 goalies. Makar clearly is not Cale Makar.
Yeah. Big problem.
Last night looked really bad.
Malinsky's out right now, and he's been great all year. You have to wonder if this is going to catch up with them at some point. And if, let's say, I still think Vegas wins this series, and Vegas is going to know, we have an opportunity to kind of smell a little blood early in the series with physical play because they are a little bit banged up. I don't agree as far as I still think Colorado is going to be an exception to the rule, and they're going to win a cup with 2 goalies, which never really happens. But I do agree, the rent is due with the injuries, and we just talked about how you look at the team that wins, they usually have this luck of ability to stay healthy throughout the playoffs, and they're piling up in Colorado.
And Makar's not just any player, right? I mean, he's Cale Makar, right? So, but look at the teams to me. Carolina is interesting. Carolina, Montreal, Vegas. 1 goalie. No question marks, right? 1 goalie. Everybody else was still hanging around. Buffalo, hey, we'll see. We'll go back and forth. Colorado, I don't. Have they announced their starter for game 1? I'm just kidding, but you get the idea there. And so I think that's very interesting, and that speaks also to the Montreal pick as well. But I just want to go someplace great. I want the atmosphere to be off the charts and not just in the building. Does that make sense? When we go, when you go to the Cup. So Anaheim, I was in Anaheim the other day for game 4. The building was great. Honda Center, great. Outside the building, it's not, it's different, right? You see what's going on in the streets in Montreal. You see what's going on in the streets in Buffalo, right? That kind of thing. And so I look for that kind of story, those kind of atmospheres, and that's why this Buffalo-Montreal series off the charts.
What I will say, though, about the Anaheim Ducks fans, I do want to give them some credit. Like the road games, they've had like 9,000, 10,000 people at the Honda Center watching the game on the jumbo.
Their fans are great, Johnny.
I do want to credit them.
The people that are into them are great.
Yeah.
You see Brooke, who's been in our chat all morning. Yeah. I mean, she's fired up. And you're right. Mm-hmm. She's been in our chat recently. I've noticed that that's somebody that's kind of a little bit newer to our chat. So you can tell that there's passion. And we even have some friends that live in Orange County, and they've been like posting, going to like a bar with their buds and watching the game and doing that stuff. But like, there's just something different about if the Stanley Cup's in Montreal and you have 20,000 in the building, and then the next 20,000 that couldn't get into the building are in the courtyard outside, like a bunch of raging lunatics. There's just a difference in that scenario. It's how it wasn't in Boston. It's how it was in Vancouver in 11 when we had that run in the finals. Just seeing that the whole city, the whole state, the whole province, and that's where I'm with Leaves. Like, that's where if you do have Buffalo or Montreal in the Cup Finals, that will be a whole nother level. I actually think Vegas could bring a similar element, and I think Denver gets up for the finals.
They do.
Like,
Denver does.
The city gets up for it for sure.
I think Vegas got spoiled early, right? Like, they've had so much success in their 9th season. And I'm not sleeping on Anaheim, but Anaheim could absolutely win that game tonight. Anaheim could absolutely win that game tonight, and then maybe game 7, flip a coin. We're talking about one goalie. Dostal's been really good. The Ducks are going to be good for a long time, boys. Yeah. They are going to be good.
They will win Stanley Cups.
Verbeek has done this correctly.
And
it took some time, right? I think Q's his 3rd coach in, is it 5 years?
Who was before Cronin?
Cronin had the bad Boston accent.
Dallas Eakins.
Right. Right. So he was there for the beginning. Right. So he didn't hire him maybe, but third coach under him, if you will.
Yep.
But I think that plan, the way they've done it, the tweaks they've made, adding certain pieces, and man, the Ducks are going to be good. I absolutely could win tonight and could win the series. Could they beat Colorado? We'll see about that.
We were talking about it before, though. Like, do you like it's obviously a different matchup for Colorado with both teams, but I think Colorado versus Anaheim, like, you're getting goals galore in that series, like with the way those two teams play. No, like I feel like it's a 2-1, 3-2 series against Vegas and a 5-4, 4-3 series against Anaheim. Score-wise,
Johnny,
not series.
Let me ask Leaves this question. Leaves,
I think you're right.
Because I get chirped for this, and I feel like I anger a lot of some of our fans in our chat when I say this. We have traditionalists, and then we have the non-sort of traditionalists, and I like to think that I like sort of the tradition, but I'm open to also a lot of the new kind of like what's trending along in the world. But I prefer a 2-2 game with 10 minutes to go in the 3rd period than the 9-6 game we saw. Was it Colorado, Minnesota game 1? It was like a 9-6 game.
Right.
I prefer the stress and the anxiety and the closeness that those 2-2 late in the 3rd period games bring, where every time a puck even gets dumped in onto the goaltender, everyone's, ooh. I like that more than the high-scoring penalty, power play. It's just my preference. Where
2-2 is a stretch, though, Colby. I think you've said like 1-1 previously. Like 2-2 is you see some goals.
And even
You're seeing some
I'm
goals.
okay with 3-3. I'm okay with 3-3 too.
I get it.
I like that 2-2, 3-3.
I'm with you. I don't want to see everything go in. There's not enough stress there. I agree. Tampa, Montreal, round 1. Did we have a scoreless game going to overtime? I feel like I
yes,
we had like
game,
a 0-0.
5, I think.
We did, yeah.
Going to overtime.
The game Gonsalves,
and the game was unbelievable.
Scored.
Was unbelievable. Chances all the time, great goaltending. And, if you play a 9-6, chances are neither goalie was good, and I don't want to see that. I want everybody to play great, right? And so, yes, you promised me 2-2, 10 minutes left. I'm absolutely taking that over 9-6. There's some conflict. There's some drama there. 9-6 is, everything's sort of going in, and it's not great play, right? It's probably bad plays and lots of mistakes.
Sloppy.
In a 2-2 game, you're probably not getting a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, but even that the Ducks Edmonton series was pretty high scoring, and that was great.
That was fun.
That series was great.
Why can't Vegas score? Like, Vegas bothers me sort of, and they've scored a little more recently, but like they have to win now 2-1. Are they built that way? They've got to win 2-1, 3-2. I feel like when they win by 2, they get 2 empty net, a couple empty net goals. But everything with Vegas is stressful, I find. They don't have the offensive.
It's always 6 on 5.
Right. And, other than Eichel, and again, a Hurdle just started scoring after 29 without a goal. Other than Eichel leading the attack on offense, and Marner's been terrific. I got all looped into the Toronto Marner thing the other day. There was a lot of laughs, too. That was fun for the Toronto media. Very sensitive up there, very sensitive people. And but anyway, I'm surprised. Like, can Vegas keep winning this way? And maybe they can. Maybe that's the only way they can win because they don't have the high-end offensive players.
I'm rooting for Torts. Like, I love Torts. I know you guys love him too. And it was fun, especially with you and Butchie. Like, you guys, people that don't know you guys don't realize that like half of what you guys say is you're trolling. You're breaking people's balls. You're being sarcastic. Like, your first language is sarcasm. So I don't think people always catch it. When you have some of those comments that they're subtle, like they go right through a lot of people's ears. But if I've been fortunate to spend enough time with you to know.
Very fortunate you have been. Yes.
We have our group text that we're in together that there's always something funny to be said in that famous group text that we have. So Leaves, you're the best. Thanks for coming on with us today. We kicked JVR out today for you, just so you know. So you
big,
know where you stand on the depth chart. So we love you and we appreciate you. Enjoy the finals, and we'll circle back with you soon, all right?
Yeah, let's do this again. Always a good time, fellas. Keep up the great work. Thanks for having me.
We love you, Leaves. Thank you. You too. All righty. This show keeps going on. Awesome stuff with Steve Levy. This has been a lot of fun. I can't believe it's already 10:35, but we do got Tyler Yaremchuk.
Quick
who
reaction.
Has just woken up to some big news. What was your phone like when you woke up this morning, Ty?
Yeah, I got text from Vic, Jonny, Laz, Zach Phillips, a producer in Edmonton, Ryan Whitney. Like, everyone's texting me being like, they did it. They fired him. And it's like, where have you all been for the last 48 hours? Liam and I declared him dead on Tuesday. Like, this isn't it's breaking news because it's official, but like, we've known this for 2 days that like Chris Knoblauch is getting fired.
Let me ask you a question. And I know I was on Oilers Nation yesterday. We talked about this kind of stuff, but like, how involved do you think ownership is in this decision? Because I know you guys have kind of talked about sort of the relationship between Coffey, Knoblauch, and then maybe Coffey and ownership. And I just wonder, like, did this come from way up top, or was this more of like what Stan and Jackson felt like needed to happen?
So let me give you my theory on how things maybe played out. My theory is that there was a split in the front office, and I think ownership's probably involved in that split as well. And I don't know which way the split goes, but I think there was some sort of a split where it was like, we're keeping the coach, or another group said, we absolutely are firing this guy. And I think they kind of went back and forth for a while. And the result of the debate was, well, Bruce Cassidy is for sure a head coach. So if we can get Bruce Cassidy, let's get Bruce Cassidy and move on from Chris Knoblauch. But if Bruce Cassidy's not interested in coming here, then we're not going to fire Chris Knoblauch just for the sake of doing it. And quite honestly, when I look at the other coaches that are available on the market, I'm not sure how many of them are truly better than Chris Knoblauch and enough to justify that level of a shakeup. So I think there was a split. I think half the people, or whatever number of the people, wanted Knoblauch gone. Half them wanted him to stay. The compromise was, well, if we can get a bona fide A-plus better coach, then let's make the change. And that was obviously Bruce Cassidy. So they kind of tried to have their cake and eat it too, and see if Cassidy was interested before they had to make the uncomfortable decision of moving on from Knoblauch. And then information got out and it blew up in their face. So that's my read on it. Is I think there's a little bit of a split, and I don't know if it's Bowman wanted Knoblauch out, or if it's Paul Coffey / ownership, we'll say, wanted Knoblauch out. But whatever it was, the side that wanted him gone got their way, and now we'll see if they can finish this thing off with Bruce Cassidy.
We might have been there 3 days ago already, Tyler, but does it feel like this is like full panic mode, ninth inning, whatever you want to call it? Like we are down to the end here, and the Edmonton Oilers are just kind of scrambling to make anything that they could try to possibly work in this final year or 2 years, I guess.
No, because people were clamoring for a coaching change in December and January, and they didn't get it. When Vegas made their move, there were Oilers fans being like, see, there's still time. Fire Chris Knoblauch. Like, I mean, he was the 10th longest tenured head coach in the NHL. It's not like Chris Knoblauch was here for 6 months and then they gassed him. So he had a couple of seasons, and I do think he made enough mistakes throughout the year that you can put not all of it, not a majority of it, but a decent chunk of the blame for how poor this season's gone on Chris Knoblauch. And I also think, Connor McDavid says the regular season was monotonous. You can watch this team and see that they sleptwalked their way through 82 games, kind of the way they usually do. The past couple of years, though, it's been like, they sleepwalk for 40 or 50 games and they decide to wake up. But they sleptwalked through all 82 this year. And I think when you look at a coach who carries himself the way Knoblauch does, he's very calm. He doesn't raise his voice. Even when games are going to overtime, he's talking about building blocks and how, hey, we don't need to push. We stay in our game. We stay in our structure. When that overtime goal went in, that everyone was kind of like, oh, was it a goal or was it not? He stayed stoic on the bench and walked down the tunnel. And Liam and I both said, even when Leon Draisaitl got ran from behind in that first round series, and, camera pans to Knoblauch and he's mouth closed, just kind of looking on. And you're like, okay, I think there was a time when the Oilers needed that sort of a mindset when, they were trying to learn how to win and they would scramble and get out of their systems. And they needed a coach like Knoblauch to calm them down. Now, I think they need someone who's a bit more fiery. I think they need someone who's going to be a hard ass, who's going to hold them to a higher level of accountability in the regular season, who's going to get the most out of them in the regular season so they're playing their best come playoff time, all of that stuff. And Knoblauch's just not that guy. So, again, this firing makes sense for me. He had 2.5 really good years, and it's just time's up.
I don't think so let's move off Bruce Cassidy for 1 second because, look, a lot of times what we think is going to happen and what makes perfect sense to happen doesn't happen, right? I mean, I feel like we already make our decisions of who's going where, and then that doesn't happen, right? It was media creation. It was media speculation. I don't think that's the case here. I really don't, but Toronto Maple Leafs have a coaching job open. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's not an attractive job, but these are competitive guys. You can make a lot of money in Toronto. They can offer you $8 million a year if they want. It's the Mecca, right? And so I think a lot of these coaches look at that and say, I want that challenge because I'm going to get a 5-year, $7 million a year guarantee anyway. So if it blows up, it blows up, but I'm going to be the guy to fix it. So let's just play a scenario out here of what if the Cassidy thing doesn't happen in Edmonton? I don't think Berube is the right guy based on, yes, they might need a hard ass, they might need old school, but they need a lot of structure. And I don't think Craig Berube's forte is X's and O's structure. If it's not Cassidy, and I think we agree that Berube's not the right guy. We talked about this with Liam yesterday on ON Every Day. But who would be your next choice, Tyler? Because, Jay Woodcroft's name is out there, but been there, done that. Who is going to be the guy? Who's the hard ass that's available? Who's the guy that's going to come in and have the gumption to stand up and if he needs to, like, go after Connor, go after Leon. And I don't mean go after like you're going to go pick fights with your superstars, but hold them accountable.
Peter Laviolette, is that the other guy who's Cassidy-esque in that regard?
Great neutral zone structure. His teams always are good in the neutral zone, Lavi.
In the first year, too.
He doesn't last long, but they got great neutral zones. An area where Edmonton could use a lot of help is the neutral zone. Is there any connections? I think it's always important to look like, okay, Stan Bowman, USA hockey guy. Peter Laviolette, USA hockey guy, right? I always think you got to look for connections and relationships. Maybe that does make sense, but you didn't say that with a lot of excitement in your voice, Tyler. So why?
Because I think Bruce Cassidy is the only answer to this question. It's just, if it's not Bruce Cassidy, then I will be on the side of where Jonny was kind of pushing, where it was like, this is like an unequivocal mess. This whole thing was done because Bruce Cassidy was viewed as the one clear upgrade on Chris Knoblauch. So if it is not Bruce Cassidy, then they fucked this whole thing up real bad.
I agree.
That's kind of my take on it.
What do you guys believe? The reports are conflicting. One report is saying they've not been given permission to speak to him, and he's talked to LA. Then Elliott comes out and says he's not talked to either team. And there's a lot of conflicting reports right now. So like, I don't know what to believe. When the big dogs are all saying something different, I get worried. Like, which guy do I look at and think is correct?
I mean, Friedman also said that Edmonton is Cassidy's, first, and he said this yesterday. So if I can like read between the lines of why information comes out, like I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Edmonton asked for permission to talk to Bruce Cassidy and Vegas said not right now, or whatever Vegas said, who cares? And it was Bruce Cassidy, because Edmonton didn't want this information out there at all. Like, this is what's blown up in their faces, the fact this info got out. But I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce Cassidy's agent went, what the hell is going on here? I'm going to get this info out there and put some public pressure on Vegas to let my client talk to other teams. And then I think about Friedman reporting that Bruce Cassidy's first preference would be Edmonton, even in light of the Toronto job. That's what he said on 32 Thoughts yesterday. Who benefits from that getting out? Probably Bruce Cassidy as well, being like, you know what? Hey, let Edmonton know that if they want to fire Chris Knoblauch, I'm coming, baby. So like,
money, baby.
Yeah,
money
and he's got leverage, but like Daryl Cates is going to be paying Chris Knoblauch $7.75 million over the next 3 years to not coach his hockey team. There's always a rumor in Edmonton. No one gets the for sure number. But there's always a rumor that each home playoff game for the Edmonton Oilers is worth like $2.5 million to Daryl Cates' bottom line. Okay, so if Bruce Cassidy says, I want $7 million, and Daryl Cates says, are you going to win me a playoff round? Yep. Pay the man. Like, who cares?
Mark Stewart also fired in Edmonton, which I assume we would have assumed would happen, but that is official now as well. Mark Stewart has also been let go. Go ahead, Jonny.
No, I was just going to say too, like, the reason why, to me, it's like Bruce Cassidy or bust, right, is because this is probably a 1-year project, right? Like, you're not looking for the guy to take over for the next 3 to 5 years. You're looking at who is the one guy right now that you feel can win them a Stanley Cup this season. And so to me, that number one guy is probably Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah, and people will do the whole, even with Laviolette, after 2 or 3 years, he wears on you. If the Oilers get a Stanley Cup in the first year or two, I don't give a shit if he wears on, like, he could come to my house and wear on me personally and scream at me every morning. I won't give a fuck. The Oilers will have a Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's all about this year. Like, it's
all right, Tyler, listen, right? We just quickly, first off, Peter Laviolette will be on Leafs Morning Take at 11 over on Leafs Nation. So that will be good. You'll want to check that out. You guys will have a busy day today with Oilers Nation, obviously. And I know you guys knew this was coming, but now that it has happened, what will I know you'll have your noon show with Carter Hutton today, Daily Faceoff Live. Give us the rest of your coverage throughout the day, because I do think this could move really quickly. They could be announcing the hiring of Bruce Cassidy today, in my opinion. Like, I believe that could all happen very, very quickly. So what will you guys be doing the rest of the day?
So I will be going on one of our shows at Oilers Nation, The Sauce, in 20 minutes to break down this a little bit more. Stan Bowman speaks at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, noon Eastern today. So we'll find out a little bit more when Bowman speaks. I'm going to be on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick and Greg Wyshynski at 11:30 my time, 1:30 Eastern. ON every day starts at noon. Got another pod in the afternoon. Giddy up. These are the fun days.
You're going to be a highly sought after guy today. That is for sure.
And Liam is probably sleeping face down right now, correct?
He usually wakes up at 8:30, so he should have gotten up 15 minutes ago.
Well, sometimes when I don't see him in the chat, I get worried. I feel like we have to send for signs of life, because I do like when I see his name pop up in our chat. It validates what we do when Liam is watching. So, Tyler, we love you. Thanks for just like randomly being available to us this morning. We'll catch you at noon on Daily Faceoff Live. We'll catch you at 1 on The Sheet. And the only show you're not on today, apparently, is Leafs Morning Take, which will have Peter Laviolette. Not quite as good as you, but a decent guest. So thanks for coming on this morning, pal. We'll keep an eye on this situation. All right.
Yep. See you,
Thanks,
boys.
Ty. All righty. As always, awesome stuff with Tyler Yaremchuk. Okay, now we have one last. What?
I just wonder if there's like a dark horse coach that we're not thinking about. That's the only thing. That's
For the Oilers.
Yeah, like I just wonder.
I saw Gerard Gallant's name in the chat a little bit, but I don't know if he's.
Is he a structure guy? Like this isn't a team that needs to freewheel.
No.
This is a team that needs like a structure coach. I just don't think offense is not a problem for them. Power play is not a problem for them. This is a team that needs to have a better neutral zone, and they need to be more committed to managing the puck and managing the lines. And, I think Levy and I would think you're getting a seasoned coach that has won with where this team is at. There's no doubt.
Our chat's saying David Carl, but I think David Carl would make way more sense for a team like Toronto than Edmonton.
David Carl's not leaving. Like he's not going right now. He's just not. I mean, unless someone
I did see someone say yesterday though, like if David Carl coached Toronto,
$100 million. Yeah,
someone said he can make as much money coaching Toronto for 4 years that he would in 10 years at Denver.
I don't know if money is a driver for him because I think he's pretty confident that he'll make his money. He's 37 years old, right? Yeah. He's probably making $700,000 right now with a multi-million-dollar package, and he has more job security than anybody in the entire world at their job. I don't care if you're working on, whatever your job is, David Carl has a more secure job. You may work for yourself and be the CEO of your own company. Carl's got a more secure position at Denver.
I agree.
Than you being the CEO of your own company. So I just think that's a stretch. I just don't see it. Again, I really don't see it happening. I don't. It always could. But I don't see that happening. I really.
Is that true? So, Vic just said he follows the Leafs on Twitter and only the Leafs.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, let me see here. He only follows one. No, he follows
NHL team. I don't know.
He follows 76 people. I'm one of them. He follows.
No. He's saying teams, NHL teams. Oh, the only NHL team he follows is the Leafs.
I'm looking.
I know
he did grow up in Alaska. There's no NHL team in Alaska.
Dean Evison, Dan Bilesma, maybe
Bruce Boudreau.
Those two names, Bruce Boudreau. Those names, that'd be pretty cool. I'd love to see Dean Evison behind a bench again, huh? We gotta get him back on the show as we enter the conference final. He was great. Bilesma too, obviously. He's already come on twice, I think, though. But all right, Colby, let's wrap the show up today. We do get to our Bet 365.
We brought a lot to you guys today. So before we get to Bet 365, let's hit that like button. All right.
Mm-hmm. Our Bet 365 bet of the night, the under 6.5 last night. What a heartbreaker when McKinnon tied that game. It was doomed. There are a few things more stressful than a close hockey game. One late back check could make all the difference between a chance at playoff glory or an early spring tea time. That's why Bet365, an official partner of the NHL, is offering 3-goal early payout. If the team you're riding goes up 3 goals at any point in the game, they'll pay your bet out early. Hockey fans have nothing to stress about. But with 3-goal early payout, now your bets don't have to be one of them. Bet365, download the app today. You must be 19 or older. And with that, tonight's bet is going to be a very specific one. Chris Kreider has been a little bit quiet in this series against Vegas. Didn't have his best game in Game 5. But when it comes to NHL history, he is tied with Mark Messier for the most goals when their team is facing elimination. Chris Kreider has scored 16 goals in 30 games when his team is facing elimination, and Mark Messier scored 16 goals in 24 games when his team faced elimination. So Chris Kreider could make NHL history tonight with a goal. The Ducks need the win. They're on home ice. We're going to take Chris Kreider anytime goal as the play. Colby, back to you. Finish up the show.
I'll just read this one quote from Stan Bowman. Following a thorough review of this past season, we believe these changes are needed. We are grateful to the contributions of both Chris and Mark that they've made to our organization, and we wish them the best moving forwards. So, listen, I think Knoblauch becomes an option right away for anybody looking for a cup. This guy's been through a ton of playoff games. He's coached some of the best players in the entire planet. So it's not as if Chris Knoblauch doesn't go right, maybe second on the list behind Bruce Cassidy. You know, I mean, maybe.
What team
does he have the right personality to go into a market like Toronto? I don't know, but again, I still think, like, will there be fallout from some of the teams that lose? Like, we know the Flyers are not making a coaching change. Minnesota, are they making a coaching change? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think that they should. I think when you look at the circumstances, you know, so is Seattle who geez, who's
Wayne Lambert? But they fired Bilesma after 1 year. They had Lambert this year. They got rid of Jessica Campbell. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know,
I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
But. Yeah, I mean, like, I just think that was they did, and they just kind of, you know, they kind of wrapped it up in niceties. But we'll see what happens. Like, there's definitely teams that need coaches. You know, Nashville doesn't have a GM yet. They may want their own coach, right? I think Knoblauch will get another opportunity to coach in the NHL, like, no doubt about it. So make sure you switch over to
off the roster.
No, Leafs Morning Take coming up at 11 a.m. They will have Peter Laviolette, so you're going to want to see if he has anything to say about any of these jobs. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. So I was just shaking my head at something I saw in the chat. But anyways, it's been a great week, Johnny. I know tomorrow we still have one more show. You're traveling today, right? So safe travels. Don't forget to you know, put that suit and tie together so you look nice on the air for the Clark Cup Finals. Good luck. I'll see you. You'll be in a hotel tomorrow, so we'll be doing this from you know, I'll be here. You'll be in your hotel, so we'll obviously keep an eye on that. But we hope that everybody has a good rest of your day. There's gonna be a lot of conversations. Couple of games tonight. Any predictions as to what's gonna happen in that Buffalo Montreal game tonight? I would assume you think Montreal, right?
Yeah. 2-2 game 5 rule. 2-2 game 5 rule. Take the road team.
I assume UPL you think gets the start, right?
Yeah.
After his performance. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Listen, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube. Make sure you set audio downloads on automatic, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, all the places our show is available. Thanks for sticking with us today. It was a long show, and Vic is probably freaking out because he's got to get over the Leafs Morning Take as I drag out this exit of the show. Tomorrow we will have JVR around 10 a.m. I don't know who we have lined up yet for 9 and 9:30.
Working on that. Working on a Canes person.
Working on that throughout the day. You're working on a player, correct? Hopefully we'll get someone from the Canes on tomorrow. That would be awesome. And then, you know, maybe we'll try to get somebody maybe if Vegas wins tonight and they close out the series, our pal Gary will come on so he can rub your nose in it. So we will see everybody as we always do, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Have a good day, everyone.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cuppa Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot and your takes hotter.